So in the United States right now, we are on the brink of possibly being in another war overseas, started by our crazy president. And I'm going to highlight everything coming along with this story here. There's a lot of hypocrisy that is embedded in all of this right now. American lives are being sacrificed actively to appease this man's ego. And right now, I'm really concerned. I mean, I've always been incredibly concerned for our country, but I'm also really concerned about what our country is doing, especially overseas in Iran. And I'm just like, Americans are exhausted. Americans are exhausted with endless wars overseas. And right now, it seems like that's exactly what we're getting. Even though Trump said he wasn't going to. But of course, you're expecting Trump to not lie. You're expecting him to tell the truth. So we're going to be breaking all of this down. He's an absolute massive hypocrite, dragging us into possibly starting another world war. And I'm over it. I'm so over it. So I'm going to be breaking down everything that you all need to know about the latest situation happening in Iran. Please make sure to like the stream, share the live. I appreciate every single one of you, even if you don't like me, okay? I'm going to be covering all of what we know, all of what happened over the weekend, all of what actually happened back in June, and what our next steps possibly are going to be. Please make sure to send some likes. I love all of you. Don't be a jerk in the chat, okay? We don't need that. We don't need that. I'm going to be covering exactly everything that is happening. So just to give you a little synopsis here before I officially start, because usually I wait for some people to jump in the live stream before I officially start. And I love all of you. We have about 7 people so far. If you're watching this back as a video, guess what? You're secretly my favorite. Because not many people apparently watch the live streams after they're posted, which is kind of crazy to me. But as a little intro to before we get started, Donald Trump likes to claim that somehow he is a peace president. And he even said in his State of the Union, which I fully did not watch all the way through, I saw snippets of it, so I'll just be clear on that. But like, he's saying I ended the war with Iran, while also issuing strikes on them. So if you all hear, oh, you know, we've done strikes on Iran, that means that we've bombed them. When you hear airstrikes or drone strikes, it means that we're bombing them. Not like a nuclear bomb per se, but yeah, we're striking them. So not necessarily in the analogy of like bowling or something else, but yes. It's crazy how Trump is simultaneously claiming that he is a very pro-peace president and then literally starting a war with Iran, possibly. And the reason why, when I say like possibly, it's like there's a huge asterisk around possibly starting World War III. And the reason why I say that is because only Congress has the ultimate power to declare war. And there's a little bit of nuance within our Constitution about war powers. It's a shared thing between the executive branch and the legislative branch. And I'm going to be going through all of that as well during the live stream or the video if you're watching this back. I'm also going to be talking about the controversies and the hypocrisies of Donald Trump and his past statements, and how really MAGA is going to end up holding the bag. And this is an opportunity for anyone who is still a part of Trump's cult. This is your moment to wake up. This is your moment to say, you know what? Maybe some of these crazy radical woke leftist liberals had some point. Maybe they were actually right about this. We were right about a lot of stuff. But you know, the thing with all of this is that Trump is a warmongerer. He lied to you. He is a warmongerer. It's what he does. So no amount of people calling me a fruitcake is gonna stop me from talking about this. So now that it's been about 4 minutes, let's officially get started here. I appreciate every single one of you. Please make sure to send some likes. Don't be a jerk in the chat. We don't need that. It's a Monday morning. All right, so here we go. Good morning, beautiful people. I hope you all are thriving, not just surviving. So you may be curious on what is happening in Iran or the latest news around with the United States has been doing to Iran and how it involves Israel. And you might be saying, I have no idea if this affects me. Are we going into World War III? What is going on here? Do I need to be concerned for my own safety? Are we in danger as American citizens? So let me give you the information. A lot happened over the weekend, and if you're feeling overwhelmed and not sure where to start, being here is a really, really good step. So make sure to smash that subscribe button. Let's get into it. Just in, 3 U.S. service members have been unalived in Operation Epic Fury, 5 seriously wounded. This is very likely to have been updated by now, but I'll give you the details. 3 U.S. service members were unalived in Operation Epic Fury, and another 5 were seriously wounded, according to the U.S. Central Command reports. In a post to X early Sunday, CENTCOM confirmed the casualties. As of 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, March 1st, 3 U.S. service members have been unalived in action, and 5 are seriously wounded as part of Operation Epic Fury. Several others sustained minor shrapnel injuries and concussions and are in the process of being returned to duty. Major combat operations continue, and our response effort is ongoing. Trump says in a viral video that he posted to his Truth Social that there will be likely more American deaths as he vows to avenge dead troops. And this all is happening with Operation Epic Fury that is happening in Iran. That is the name of the operation for our country being roped into another endless war in the Middle East by Israel, being roped into it to then launch airstrikes, bombs on Iran. And with Iran now firing back, and now United States citizens who have been deployed there have unfortunately been unalived, and several have been injured. These are boots on the ground missions. So when Donald Trump said no more boots on the ground, obviously he lied, like so many other times. But you get my gist. President Donald Trump released a 6-minute video message on Truth Social yesterday morning, Sunday, in his first address to the nation since he announced the U.S.-Israeli strikes, bombs, against Iran early Saturday morning. MS Now aired the video in which the president confirmed the deaths of 3 U.S. service members with 5 others injured. And this is what Donald Trump said in part of the video. Combat operations continue at this time in full force, and they will continue until all of our objectives are achieved. We have very strong objectives, the strongest of objectives. You've never seen any objectives stronger, okay? They could have done something 2 weeks ago. They could have done it, but they just couldn't get there. Oh my God. Just hearing his voice frustrates me. Okay, why is my green screen not working? Thank you, I swear to God. He continues onward. Our resolve, and likewise that of Israel, has never been stronger. America is now, again, the richest, most powerful nation in the world by far. But the only reason we enjoy the quality of life that we do, and the freedom and security as we have done things that others are unable to do. Did I just read that wrong, or did he just not make sense? The only reason we enjoy the quality of life that we do and the freedom and security as we have done things that others are unable to do. Okay, it's not just me. Got it. Okay. But it's because of the warriors who are willing to lay down their lives to do battle with our enemies, and they do battle better than anybody. They do battle. Imagine someone saying, hey mom, I want to be in the army so I can do battle. Oh God, he's such a petulant child. But it's because warriors are willing to lay down their lives to do battle with our enemies, and they do battle better than anybody. An Iranian regime armed with long-range missiles, and nuclear weapons would be a dire threat to every American. if you're enjoying the live stream or the video, please make sure to send some likes. So this was obviously what Donald Trump put out on his Truth Social. He also added that many Iranian leaders by the thousands are now apparently scrambling to contact the United States and request immunity. Of course, that's what Trump says, so it's most likely a lie. But even if that is true, that's wild. He told the Daily Mail in an interview shortly before his video was posted that Operation Epic Fury will now take 4 weeks or less. So that means 4 weeks on the ground, boots on the ground, of our American citizens. And so if you're like, okay, I'm still kind of confused at what's going on, as of early March 2026, literally starting Saturday, which was February 28th, if I'm not incorrect, the United States is engaged in many combat operations, or in major combat operations against Iran, designated as, quote, Operation Epic Fury. Reports indicate joint efforts with Israel have targeted Iranian leadership and nuclear sites, resulting in U.S. casualties and a sharp division in national opinion. That last part, I'm like, okay, I don't know. I mean, in some capacity, sure, but that's the first part is the most important. So we, as the United States, if you want a little summary, we as the United States have been roped into doing combat strikes, have been basically goaded by Israel into bombing Iran. That's the situation. That's really what it's coming down to. And we're using American citizens, boots on the ground, and there have been casualties. I think that, and I hope that, I think it's more of I hope. I really hope that regardless of your political affiliation, we all can bond together and say, this is so frustrating. We don't need this. We don't need more endless war in the Middle East, period. We don't. Leave them alone unless they're a threat to us. But guess what? I don't think that they are. I don't think that they are. And it's like we constantly are poking and poking and poking them. And it's kind of like we're kind of, in my view, we're kind of like a shit stirrer. We're just constantly stirring the pot. And I just hate that. I really, really do. I don't trust when political leaders want to just go out and do endless war. I think it's a bad idea. And I'll tell you why more in a minute. Special report. U.S. and Israel launch unprovoked attack on Iran, risking broader regional war. And this is from Democracy Now! Democracy Now! And the War and Peace report. The U.S. and Israel have launched an unprovoked attack on Iran, striking sites across the country, including the compound of Iran's supreme leader, I don't know how to pronounce that name, Ayatollah. I'm going to say that. Iranian state media reports one Israeli strike hit an elementary girls' school in Minab, killing at least 85 people, including scores of children. That's so heartbreaking. Iran responded by launching attacks across the Middle East targeting Israel and United States military installations in the United Arab Emirates, Qatar, Kuwait, Bahrain, and Jordan. Israel Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says there are growing signs that Iran's supreme leader was unalived in the attack. So we're basically being roped into doing combat strikes, bombs, on Iran, even though it's completely unprovoked. Unprovoked, meaning that they haven't done anything to us. We are just deciding to bomb them to start. Imagine you then claiming, if you start a fight, and then claiming that you're the victim, even if it's my own country doing that, I'm like, dude, it's not a good look. It's not a good look for you to then claim that somehow you are in danger of someone else preemptively attacking you, but then you do the preemptive attacking. It's like, okay, you're basically being everything that you're supposedly condemning. And that has been Americans' military political policy agenda in the Middle East for the past 3 decades. It's disgusting and annoying, and it needs to stop. It needs to stop. This idea of us unprovokingly attacking other people and then being like, oh, we're the victims. I just don't buy it. And I think the American people, and many, regardless of your political affiliation, are looking at this being like, dude, what the hell? We need to stop. The United States right now, I understand you want to protect us, sure. Though also there's a point where if they aren't fighting, but if they aren't like starting it, then why do we need to constantly like provoke them? Unprovoked attacks, that's what it is. And I'll give you more evidence as to why I'm more animated about that, because the United States Director of National Intelligence at one point back in June said, Iran's not building any nuclear weapons. They're just not. They're not building it. And guess what? Trump decides to completely circumvent his own Director of National Intelligence, who he appointed, and says, no, I think they're building something. I just want to bomb them. I'm just gonna pew pew. They're just gonna go up like smoke in flames. So there's even been mixed reporting either whether there are or are not even nuclear weapons. Which, if there's even uncertainty around that, then why are we already preemptively just going ahead and bombing the country? Leave them alone! Leave them alone! It's insanity if you've ever thought of it like that. The lives of courageous American heroes may be lost, and we may have casualties. That often happens in war. It often happens in war, but we are doing this not for now. We're doing this for the future, and it's a noble mission. Okay. So Trump says that we're doing this for now, or we're doing this not for now, but for the future. You know what that really reminds me of? It really reminds me of Lord Farquaad. You know Lord Farquaad? Some of you may die, but that is the sacrifice that I am willing to make. It just makes me so frustrated that our military is sending people overseas, boots on the ground, because this man is a warmonger. I just can't. The fact that he is trying to justify it when at one point Trump was right about this topic. At one point he condemned the United States and foreign entanglements in the Middle East. He is exactly what he supposedly condemned at one point. Also, this stuff like this, and this is only grazing the surface. Stuff like this. Kamala Harris will send your children to war. Stop wars. Vote Trump Vance. Can we all admit, can we all just collectively look at this and say, yeah, if you still subscribe to being a part of MAGA because you think that they're anti-war, they lied to you. They milked you for all of this money, milked you for endless amounts of merchandise, basically turning Trump into a god, and then he goes and does whatever he wants. It's so stupid. It's so stupid. Now, if this moment, I really hope that this moment in particular is a wake-up call for a lot of people in MAGA. I really hope. You know why? Because if you want to join the anti-war coalition, then great. Join us, the progressives. Not just the Democrats, but the progressives. We don't want endless war either. We constantly talk about it. Bernie talks about it. We don't want endless war. We don't want to continue pouring endless amounts of money into the military just to go into the pockets of wealthy military contractors that benefit off of endless war. The progressives don't want that. The strong democratic socialists even don't want that. They don't want that. So if you're MAGA, this is your moment. Wake up. Trump is not anti-war, has never been. He lied to you. He lied. Of course he lied. It's what he does. Now let me also break this down. So I have a degree in political science. And when in several of my political science classes, we would talk a lot about the different powers of Congress, the executive branch, the judicial, where those powers are shared. Why is my green screen being so bad? Where those powers are shared, where they are delineated, what role and responsibility goes for which branch, how does that function. When it comes to war powers, it gets a little bit gray because the United States chief military officer, chief executive, is our president. He is the leader of our military. He commands national defense. But the only body of people that have the ability to declare war is Congress. So it's been a little bit muddy, and let me break it all down here. Thomas Massie says acts of war unauthorized by Congress. Thomas Massie condemns Trump's Iran strikes, meaning bombs. President Donald Trump's early morning military strikes on Iran Saturday ignited immediate cross-party backlash on Capitol Hill, with Representative Thomas Massie, a Republican from Kentucky, accused the president of launching, quote, acts of unauthorized war by Congress. Acts of war unauthorized by Congress. Sorry, I can't read. As reports of the attack surfaced before the dawn on Saturday, the Republican congressman moved swiftly, taking to X to condemn the operation. And you can go and see his X post here. What's also interesting is I want to point out that under the United States Constitution, the president cannot declare war. The president does not have the authority, he or she or they do not have the authority to declare war. That power is explicitly vested in Congress within the Constitution. So our Constitution outlines that, hey, the only body of people that can actually make a declaration of war is Congress. Though our Constitution also says that the leader of our national defense, our military forces, is the president. So the president, he, she, they have the ultimate say on how you go about war deployments. Now, throughout history, it's important to note that out of the 47 presidents we've had, 45 of them have ordered military strikes and actions without specific congressional declaration of war or targeted approval for that operation. So this has happened in so many different presidencies. Now, in my view, that doesn't make it okay. Though there's always kind of been a little bit of a gray area because the president has the authority to then protect the national defense, promote general welfare, all that kind of stuff. Though also, the president themselves cannot unilaterally declare war, but they have discretion over the military. So right now we're in this gray area where we have just launched preemptive, unprovoked attacks goaded into a possible war along with Israel towards Iran, and Congress hasn't officially declared it war, though it's us doing warlike actions, bombing another country, unaliving civilians, young little elementary school girls in Iran, as well as our own American service members being unalived and wounded. So even though it's not a formal war, it's still very much warlike. So that's a little bit of the gray area around the Constitution, because the Constitution divides war powers between Congress, the legislative branch, and the president, the executive branch. Only Congress can declare war and appropriate military funding, meaning allocate, say, this much money goes to military funding. Yet the president is the chief commander-in-chief of the armed forces. So it's up to the president to then lead the military and all other armed forces to promote the national defense and the general welfare, all of that stuff. So when Thomas Massey says, hey, it's an act of war unauthorized by Congress, there's room for criticism. There's also room where he is kind of correct. So that's where we currently are. So if someone says, oh, we are in World War III, it's like, well, not technically. You could argue that we are without the official definition. Regardless, it doesn't make any sense for us to constantly argue over verbiage when the actions of our country being goaded by Israel into doing more conflict, boots on the ground in the Middle East, unaliving our own service members, wounding our own service members for acts of prolific, endless war, and also launching preemptive strikes, unaliving citizens of another country. We don't need more regime change. We don't need more foreign intervention. We don't. It's so frustrating. Anyway, I'm gonna take a quick little break and read some comments. I mean, maybe I don't need to, but I figured that I would at least go through. If you're new here, say hello and where you're tuning in from. I like to get to know people, so I appreciate every single one of you. I really, really do. If you're new here, say hello and your favorite emoji. If you're new here, say hello and your favorite emoji. And if you're watching this back as a video, please comment below what you really enjoy about my live streams. I really want to, say thank you to everyone who watches my videos. I mean, I work really, really hard to do what I do, and I'm also trying to figure out ways to improve my content. So I love all of you so much. Thanks, Scott. Your reporting is important to me and my family. Thank you. C-Bar, love you. C-Bar is a good friend of the live stream, so I really appreciate you saying that. Hope you and your family are doing well. So good morning to all. Hello. Hello from Washington State. Is anyone else new? Rock hounding? Ooh, are we like a geologist? Maryland here. Oh, hello. In Maryland. I think we have maybe some foreign. We have some audience abroad. I'm a German watching from Munich. Interesting. Okay, cool. Hello. Let's see. Someone says they're watching from Lebanon. Do you think this guy is gay? Who, Trump? I have a theory that Donald Trump is actually bi, but that's just me. He definitely likes women, so he's not gay. He loves women, but I think he also has certain boy man's crushes. Hello from India. Okay, cool. But anyway, I see some new people in here. You all are awesome. All right. So let me get back into reporting some more information here and continuing to break all of this down. I love you all so much. Please make sure to send some likes. Let me get right back into it here. So as the United States has launched unprovoked preemptive strikes against Iran in what they call Operation Epic Fury, we have now actual American casualties from boots on the ground and people who have been wounded in this, despite the fact that this is not an actual war that has been declared by Congress, because only Congress has the ability to then declare war by the Constitution, though our president is the commander-in-chief, so has the discretion on how military forces are deployed, and so it leaves that gray area. We are possibly maybe marching towards World War III. It is possible, it's not certain, but what happened over the weekend was simply that our country, the United States of America, was basically convinced, goaded by Israel and Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, the leader of Israel, into bombing Iran, launching strikes on Iran. If you hear launching strikes, that means bombs. Now, this was completely unprovoked and preemptive by definition. This is how Donald Trump has defined it. He has basically said, the lives of courageous American heroes may be lost, and eat my hands, may be lost, and we may have casualties. That happens in war, that often does. But we're not doing this for now. We're doing this for the future, and it's a noble mission. Trump also took to Truth Social, I think it was Saturday morning, in a long-winded 6 minutes post, basically talking about all of this, saying, combat operations continue at this time in full force, and they will continue until all of our objectives are achieved. We have very strong objectives, the strongest of objectives. You've never seen any objectives stronger. They could have done something 2 weeks ago, but they just couldn't get there. They couldn't get there. They just decided not to do it. They just decided, to wimp out, to wuss out, They just didn't want to do it. I'm obviously ad-libbing, but you get the gist. And Trump continued that several Americans had ultimately paid the price, and he also mentioned this. We pray for the full recovery of the wounded and send our immense love and eternal gratitude to the families of the fallen. And sadly, there will likely be more before it ends. That's the way it works. Likely be more. But we'll do everything possible that won't be the case. Doing everything possible where that will not be the case is not preemptively striking and bombing another country unprovoked, putting our own citizens at risk. That you want to decrease casualties from war? Don't bomb another country. Oh, God. He says, but America will avenge their deaths and deliver the most pushing blow to the terrorists who have waged war against civilization. He says, but America will avenge their deaths and deliver the most punishing blow to the terrorists who have waged war against civilization. They've waged war against civilization itself. Oh wait, hold on. Okay. Is Donald Trump saying that people in Iran are not considered part of civilization? And that we, as America, is civilization? Okay, not wrong, but dude, do you not realize that people in Iran are humans too? They are a part of the human civilization? Girl, this guy is so brainless. But anyway, continuing all of that, now that you have a quick little background, I want to point out Trump's hypocrisy on all of this. The biggest hypocrisy is that Trump in the early days was very, very right to be very anti-war. That actually was an appeal for a lot of people. A lot of MAGA's initial start was kind of being anti-war, conspiracy theory heavy. And in some capacities, there's lots of critiques for that, being especially conspiracy theory heavy. Though also the anti-war part was very real. There's a big faction of MAGA that was very anti-war. Now, obviously, as soon as they got goaded into that, then they started unrealizingly voting for people that were incredibly pro-war. The party includes people like Lindsey Graham and Tom Cotton, who are very pro-war in many capacities, but also the party comes from George Bush, incredibly pro-war. Now, that doesn't mean to say that there are not presidents, a part of another political party, the Democratic Party, that are also very, very foreign interventionist heavy. That's very, very fair. But MAGA also kind of had some elements, some start of being anti-war, but it obviously kind of got lost along the way. And what's also interesting was this kind of thing. Stop wars. Vote Trump Vance. Kamala Harris will send your children to war. This was a common thing. A lot of Trump supporters were like, oh, I believe in Trump because he's not going to send kids to war. He's not going to do that. Look, if you're still a part of the Trump cult, this is your moment to wake up. This is your moment to be like, ooh, actually, you know what? I have been lied to. If Marjorie Taylor Greene can admit it, so can you. So can you. I love how, I don't know if you all noticed, I love how as soon as I put this up here, a huge portion of people just dropped off. You know what that really shows? And if you're watching this back as a video, I'm sorry, you can't see what I'm pointing at. I'm pointing at the live count of how many people are in here. What it really shows is as soon as I put up information that goes against some of the trolls that have been in here, their pre-existing beliefs and identity, they're like, oh my God, no, I have to scroll away. And the cognitive dissonance is real. This is a moment of uncomfortability, absolutely, for MAGA, but I need you to then evolve. I need you to be like, you know what? MAGA was a complete farce. Yes. As someone who grew up that way, I will tell you, it is a complete sham. It is a complete sham. It's all just to support the whiny egomaniac Donald Trump. It's all just about him. Now, let me also wind back to something. Do you all remember what happened in June of last year, 2025? This was at the time when I was starting to do my live streams over YouTube. I've been doing my live streams over YouTube almost for a year now. Oh my God, really? Yeah, I think so. I think I've done it over YouTube for a good amount of time. Do you all remember when we were talking about Iran back in like late June, around June 18th, 19th, and 20th? Do you all remember that? If you do, comment yes. This was June of last year when the United States briefly had bombed nuclear facilities in Iran. And according to our current president, Donald Trump, those nuclear facilities were completely obliterated. They were completely obliterated. And Bernie Sanders points this out. Trump said we have to attack Iran because we can't allow it to have a nuclear weapon. Really? This is the same president who, back in June, said Iran's nuclear facilities have been obliterated. Vietnam, Iraq, Iran, another lie, another war. And just to refresh y'all's memory, at one point, Trump was saying, I'm looking for better than a ceasefire between Israel and Iran. Looking for better than a ceasefire. Okay. What's better than a ceasefire? A hug? A kiss on the cheek? Drinks? A cheers on drinks? Like, what is better than a ceasefire? An opportunity for him to get more wealthy? Probably. Like, dude, what is better than a ceasefire? Do y'all remember this? This was back last year in June. This is crazy. He said this to Mark Carney, the Prime Minister of Canada. Also, at one point, Trump also was like, I'm not looking for a ceasefire. Okay, hold on. What? So June 17th, he says he's not looking for a ceasefire. At the same time, he also then said, I'm looking for better than a ceasefire. So bro can't make up his mind, okay? He can't decide between 6 or 7, 6, 7, 6, 7. He cannot decide between whether he wants to look for better than a ceasefire or that he's not looking for a ceasefire. But basically, Trump's Director of National Intelligence, abbreviated DNI, Tulsi Gabbard, who he appointed, said, yeah, Iran is not building any nuclear weapons. This was back in June. Trump's own Director of National Intelligence, basically the chief operation person for doing intelligence gathering, spying, all of that kind of stuff abroad, said, yeah, from my knowledge, they're not building any nuclear weapons. And Donald Trump's like, I don't care what she said. I don't care. If they have nuclear weapons, I'm going to bomb them. I'm going to nuke them. I'm going to unalive them. I'm just going to make it boom, boom, boom. And then he also was like, Trump weighs in joining Iran's strikes after calling for unconditional surrender. So then he decides, you know what? Okay, I was looking for better than a ceasefire. Now I'm not looking for a ceasefire, but now I'm just going to bomb them. Now I'm just going to boom, boom. I don't get it. But President Donald Trump on Tuesday, this was back in June of 2025, last year, angrily pushed back at his own Director of National Intelligence assessment of Iran's nuclear program status, telling journalists aboard Air Force One that he did not care about her belief that Tehran is in Iran, the capital, to my knowledge that's Tehran, was not actively working on constructing a usable nuclear weapon. So Trump's own Director of National Intelligence back in June of 2025 says, yeah, doesn't look like Iran is building any nuclear weapons. And then Trump goes, I don't care, I just want to nuke them. Speaking to reporters on the way back to Washington after making an early exit from 2025 Group of 7 Leaders Summit in Alberta, Canada, the president was asked about Tulsi Gabbard's March testimony before the House Intelligence Committee, in which the Director of National Intelligence said the U.S. intelligence community had assessed that Iran was not then working to build a nuclear weapon, despite continuing work on uranium enrichment. Which, by the way, if you all are like, oh, uranium enrichment, yeah, that sounds like it has to be a weapon. You do know that uranium enrichment is what we do in order to then power nuclear power plants, correct? So just because they're working on nuclear enrichment doesn't then mean it's going to be a nuclear weapon. Possibly. But if the Director of National Intelligence is saying, yeah, there's no definitive evidence that they are immediately working on a weapon, then that's different. Trump told CNN's Caitlin Collins that he believed that Iran had been very close to a working bomb, but when Collins pointed out what Gabbard had testified and said to Congress 3 months ago, Trump became irate. I don't care what she said. I think they were very close to having one. I think. Notice his words there. I think. Well, the person that's informing you of such things, your Director of National Intelligence, says, I don't think so. And actually, I know not. So just because Donald Trump thinks something does not make it true. But in his mind, it does. During her March 26th appearance before the House, Gabbard said the USIC had continued to assess that Iran is not building a nuclear weapon. So basically, back in June of 2025, or no, I should say back in March of 2025, the Director of National Intelligence that was appointed by Trump, Tulsi Gabbard, says, yeah, Iran is not building nuclear weapons. They're not doing it. Trump says, I don't care what she said. I don't care. I think they were close, so I'm just going to take an opportunity to bomb their nuclear building facilities. I'm going to bomb them. It's going to be obliterated. Boom, boom. So, all right. After all of that, Trump then says that, we completely eradicated all of it. We bombed all of it. We bombed all of it. Where is it? Hold on. And what was so funny was part of this, Trump says that U.S. may or may not join Israel's strikes against Iran. This is back on June 18th. And it was so funny because he was standing on the White House lawn when they were starting, I think they were taking out some trees and stuff like that, doing some sort of renovation, starting on his ballroom or whatnot. And he then was like bragging. He's like, no one knows what I'm going to do. No one knows. No one knows. And it's like, I may do it. I may not do it. I mean, nobody knows what I'm going to do. And I took screenshots from part of another moment. Well, I have ideas of what I'm going to do. I like to make the final decision. 1 second before it's due. 1 second. Because things change. Especially with war, things change. Especially with war. And war is very bad. War is very bad. And I even did a video about all of this. I even did a whole breakdown. And so you can definitely go and find it posted to my videos tab about everything that happened with Iran back last year around June. And I was like, okay, the big takeaways are Trump's own Director of National Intelligence said that they're not building nuclear weapons. Trump ignores her, says that they are, goes and just, again, bombs Iran, saying that I'm looking for better than a ceasefire, but then I'm not looking for a ceasefire, but then I'm just going to blow it all up. And, it was all obliterated. And what was so interesting was this moment here, all right? Iran's foreign minister on the Iran sites. Damages are very severe. They were destroyed. Of course they are, just like I said. We will do it again if necessary. If necessary. And so, as interviewed by Bret Baier, fake news CNN should immediately fire their phony reporter and apologize to me and the great pilots who obliterated Iran's nuclear sites. So, according to Trump, these nuclear sites were completely obliterated. Completely obliterated. And he goes on to then say, Iran should have signed the deal I told them to sign. What a sham. Waste of human life. Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. Okay, I get that. You know who tore up the Iran deal? That would be Donald Trump. He tore up the Iran deal. And so he's pointing out that, hey, basically we obliterated all of their nuclear facilities. That's what he said. We obliterated their nuclear facilities. It was all completely obliterated. So it leads to questions around, all right, so if it was so obliterated, then how is it possible that it grew back that fast? It grew back that fast. Like, you cannot have it be obliterated and then you start from scratch starting in July and then be that quick, like already there. It's not possible. And again, as Bernie Sanders pointed out, Trump said we had to attack Iran because we can't allow it to have a nuclear weapon. Really? This is the same president who in June said that Iran's nuclear facilities have been obliterated. Vietnam, Iraq, Iran, another lie, another war. And I mean, I don't know how else to go about it, but what's also funny is Donald Trump in the past has been correct, on the correct side of history, talking about being anti-war. And so I want to play, I want to show you some of these moments. These people are hypocrites. They played with the emotions of the American public to win votes, and now they're doing the exact things they used to criticize others for. Yeah. Because MAGA is all a lie. It's all a sham. It's always been a sham. If you all remember, back in 2011, 2012, Donald Trump was correct to criticize Obama. He was, in my view, correct to criticize Obama. Let me show you some of what he said. In order to get elected, Barack Obama will start a war with Iran. By the way, it is a known fact that a lot of presidents, when their approval ratings are kind of not doing great, they're like, okay, I need something to then make people like me more. Well, people like me if they think that I'm fighting for them against some sort of threat. So it's been well known for the past basically like 20 years, but now it's becoming more public that a lot of foreign policy is incredibly performative for the fact of trying to increase approval ratings. So when you had foreign leaders that started to become very, very low on the approval, they would then try to rally around a common threat. And that would often then include making threats abroad, and that would then increase their popularity. And so this used to kind of be a little bit more, okay, that's a little bit far stretched, but now it's becoming way more mainstream, and it's quite visible. It's easy for a president to then try and rally support by shifting from domestic problems to then foreign policy problems as a way to try to unite the country together to increase their approval ratings. This has been a tactic amongst lots of leaders. And it used to be a little bit more of an idea that was a little bit on the fringe, and now it's starting to become a little bit more mainstream. And I think it also, we have to be very careful because sometimes I think it depends. Though he was right to point this out. In order to get elected, Barack Obama will start a war with Iran. Yeah, that sure aged well. Now that Obama's poll numbers are in a tailspin, watch him I can't English, let me do it in Trump's words. Now that Obama's poll numbers are in a tailspin, watch for him to launch a strike in Libya or Iran. He is desperate. Even by Trump's own logic, you know what that shows? That Trump is desperate. So if Trump is launching strikes on Iran, in his mind, that means that someone is desperate. So that means that he is desperate. Now, unless Donald Trump has magically changed, which I don't think so, then it's just, yeah. Don't let Obama play the Iran card in order to start a war to get elected. Be careful, Republicans. So, be prepared. There's a small chance that our horrendous leadership could unknowingly lead us into World War III. And this person was like, this didn't age well, homie. The hypocrisy is astounding. Remember that I predicted a long time ago that President Obama will attack Iran because of his inability to negotiate, properly not skilled. And there was even a video where Donald Trump actually at one point was like, our president will start a war with Iran. It will be a bad thing. We shouldn't do it. Where is that at now? This is also the same guy that said back in his State of the Union address, I ended the war with Iran. How do you end a war at the same time as launching preemptive, unprovoked strikes against that country? How can you then... He doesn't have a shred of mental sanity. He really doesn't. Trump is a lot like the thing 6'7", because this motion is his complete contradictions. Remember back in 2025, he said, I want something more than a ceasefire. I want better than a ceasefire. And then turns around and says, I don't want a ceasefire. Actually, I don't want one. I'm just going to bomb it. Then turns around and now says, I ended the war with Iran. Then a few days later, ends up just bombing. Oh, we need to bomb them in Operation Epic Fury. We need to bomb them, launch preemptive, unprovoked strikes against the country. Trump is the embodiment of 6'7", because he flip-flops on every goddamn thing. And the thing with this is, we are the butt of his joke. We, the American citizens, are the butt of all of his jokes. It's embarrassing to be an American. And you know what's even more embarrassing? J.D. Vance, who then says, I empathize with the Americans who are exhausted after 25 years of foreign entanglements in the Middle East. I understand their concern, but the difference is that back then, we had dumb presidents. Back then, we had dumb presidents versus now we have smart presidents. And smart presidents like Donald Trump are doing it right. Oh my God. I'm just embarrassed for him. Oh my God. Imagine having your face so deep, biggest brown noser I've ever known. Like, dude, is it worthwhile? Is it worth it to be this humiliated endlessly? Like, oh my God. I just don't even know where to start. Dude. Let me get to some comments here from people. I appreciate every single one of you. If you're enjoying the live stream, please make sure to send some likes. I love all of you so much. If you're just trying to be obnoxious in the chat here, then just scroll on. Minding your own business is free. You don't know where to start. Could we help you pack your bags as you go to Iran? That's another funny thing. A troll comment. Let me point this out here, okay? Yes, a lot of people in Iran are not favorable towards, I'm assuming you're trying to point out the fact that, yes, I'm gay, okay? Yes. Duh. Just because another country might not be incredibly loving or warm towards me as a queer person doesn't then warrant me to then advocate for their human rights to be violated. So where in my contract as being a part of humanity is it like, oh, because my human rights have been violated by some people, that somehow I'm supposed to then be okay with other people's human rights being violated? Like, just because someone might not fully support me, all of a sudden I'm supposed to then not support them. Like, where did that disconnect come from? When initially the whole thing with Israel, Palestine, all of that happened, a lot of these people were like, oh, but Palestinians aren't favorable to you being queer. You know, there's a lot of queer Palestinians. You know that, right? Like, you know that there's a lot of people within countries that have very, very homophobic or not queer-friendly leadership, but there are people fighting for the liberation of those populations of people. So there's people who be like, oh, Palestinians are not friendly towards queer people. It's like, you're completely invalidating all the work of queer Palestinians fighting for their humanity. But that all being said, same with people in Iran. People in Iran are fighting for queer liberation as well. Now, just because the government might not be incredibly friendly, that doesn't then mean if I see injustices towards that group of people that somehow I'm going to advocate that it's okay. Let me give you an example. And this is actually a true personal story. When I lived in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, I was on a walk one day, and during the walk, I was just walking along. I had my America Needs Love shirt on. It's not rainbow, but it definitely had some colors in it. And I was walking along, and I then saw this man. He was kind of stumbling, and I was unsure whether I should go over to him. Then I noticed that he had a big bloody wound on his head. He was dressed in professional clothes. He had a big bloody wound on his head. And I immediately went over to him and I said, hey, sir, is there anything I can do to help you? And he looked at me with a scowl. I visually remember he looked at me with a scowl, and he was kind of like leaning towards me. And he was trying to mumble something. He was mumbling something, and I'll tell you, I know it was homophobic. I fully know it was homophobic, but he couldn't say the words because he just couldn't speak. I think he had suffered some brain damage. I'll tell you more about that, but he ended up leaning towards me, and he actually fell onto me. So he ended up falling onto me. And I'll point out that I was walking along the street and the sidewalk kind of simultaneously. So this was on a super hard surface. If I had not been there, he would have just fallen right over, possibly cracked open his skull and died. He ended up falling onto me. I caught him before he fully fell to the ground. So now you could say, oh, well, he was trying to be rude to you. He was trying to say something homophobic to you. Why did you catch him? Why are you doing that? So just because someone violates my human rights or disrespects me, does that somehow then warrant me not being an empathetic human being and advocating for other people to again get the same or worse treatments? Like, where in our social contract are we mandated to then act like that? No. I want to point out that just because this guy was trying to say something homophobic to me doesn't then mean I was just not gonna catch him. Like, I'm gonna do what I can to save him. Like, I'm gonna do what I can. So I ended up catching him, and then I laid him to the ground, and initially someone else started dialing 911. We got him help and everything. When he awoke, he looked at me and was actually in shock and in awe that I was still there. I think the word awe really encapsulates it. And I could tell he couldn't speak still, but I could tell that he was trying to talk. And I think he was trying to say thank you or I'm sorry, but I couldn't really hear. That all being said, when it comes to this year, I love the whataboutism comment, saying, "Oh, just because why are you defending like Iran? Why are you doing that?" So just because Iran might not be favorable towards queer people, does that mean I'm not supposed to then call a spade when our country launches preemptive, unprovoked bombings towards another country? Like, this is why the world needs way more empathy, critical thinking in that instance. Where in the social contract did I sign as a human person say that just because someone is cruel and mean and nasty towards me, that then I advocate for that back? The same way that queer people don't advocate for the rights of straight marriage to be abolished, that'd be so stupid. Why? You're happy, that's great. There are people that advocate for gay marriage still to be overturned. And unfortunately that's still out there. I say all of that because just because someone argues to dehumanize me or a group that I vibe with, population that I'm a part of, doesn't then mean or warrant me trying to marginalize you in return. No. Why? That's so stupid. So anyway, I totally missed a lot of people's comments, but I hope that kind of dispelled that. I appreciate every single one of you. I really, really do. I love the people scrolling in here. Y'all are so fun. Y'all are fun. Y'all are so fun. Did I miss any comments? I did see, let's see. Someone sent me was that a $5 or $50 super chat? That's a lot. Oh, that was 50 SEK. Oh, interesting. So I guess that was $5 and gay is based. Yeah, 100%. Hello from East Tennessee. Hello. So do we all need an overview? Do we all need a quick little overview? I see a whole bunch of new people maybe scrolling in here. I appreciate every single one of you. But do we need a quick little overview? Let me provide that. Let me just take a sip. So I had coffee earlier, but now I'm drinking water. Remember, stay hydrated. No offense, but no one cares if you're gay in 2026. I know, I'm just because this mug is just saying that. Swedish krona. Oh, okay, that's cool. So, hi from Middle Tennessee. Hello. Elisa, hello. So let me give you all just a quick little rundown here of everything. Please make sure to send some likes. I love all of you. So let me officially start here. Here we go. Oh, that was a bad tongue pop. Hold on. Sorry, I really love tongue pops. So over the weekend, there was a lot of drama that happened. Drama, bombing, unprovoked strikes going against Iran. And right now, the United States is being goaded into another war in the Middle East. You can say that we're partially there, maybe we're partially not, maybe not definitionally on paper, and we get into the kind of nuances around the Constitution, but basically, overnight, the United States ended up doing drone strikes in Iran. Now, this was not last night, this was Saturday. And basically, drone strikes means bombings. So right now, our country did unprovoked, preemptive strikes against Iran. Let me give you a full rundown here. Hold on just a second. Okay. Let me get all the way back to where we were. As of early March 2026, the United States is engaged in major combat operations against Iran, designated as, quote, Operation Epic Fury. Reports indicate joint efforts with Israel have targeted Iranian leadership and nuclear sites, resulting in U.S. casualties. So we've already had people, unfortunately, United States citizens, that have been unalived in this Operation Epic Fury. Going against what Donald Trump was talking about, saying he doesn't want any more boots on the ground, well, he lied, like so many other times. So our president has put Americans' lives at risk for this preemptive strike against Iran. When I say preemptive and unprovoked, that's the really important part. You're like, okay, what does that mean? Unprovoked. Meaning that we decided to just bomb Iran out of the blue. You just decided we don't like them, so we're just gonna bomb them. Preemptive because they're like, oh, we're gonna bomb you before you bomb us. It's interesting when anyone says that they are going to preemptively strike to stop violence. Think of it as a bully in school. It's like you going over and then hurting someone, hitting someone before they hit you. It's like, I'm doing this to stop violence, smack. That's not how it works. It's not how it works. You don't do violence with the intent to then not have violence. Like, that's not how it works. That's not how it works. And also, their reasoning was, oh, Iran has nuclear weapons. Iran has nuclear weapons. Well, if you all remember back in June of 2025, I'll cover it again. Apparently, our director of national intelligence said, yeah, it doesn't look like Iran is building a nuclear weapon. That's Tulsi Gabbard, the director of national intelligence, appointed by Trump. She testifies before Congress and says, yeah, there's no evidence that Iran is building nuclear weapons. Trump, a couple months later, says, I don't care what she said, we're gonna bomb them. So we ended up bombing them. And by Trump's definition, we obliterated their nuclear building sites. Their nuclear sites, we obliterated them. So why is it that all of a sudden now we're having to go to war, or at least we're doing drone strikes on Iran because they have nuclear weapons? So wait, hold on. Did they build nuclear weapons back in less than half of a year? Are you expecting Americans to believe that? Like, huh? And we're doing unprovoked preemptive strikes on them, being goaded by Israel. You know, Israel's not doing anything nefarious to other groups within the Middle East. No, not at all. So basically, our president has put Americans' lives at risk in this Operation Epic Fury. And it's getting nasty and ugly. This is what Donald Trump said. In one of his messages. Combat operations continue at this time in full force, and they will continue until all of our objectives are achieved. We have very strong objectives. They could have done something 2 weeks ago, but they just couldn't get there. They could have done it, but they didn't. And another thing, Trump then says that he vows to avenge the people who have been taken who have been unalived in this whole conflict, that he put them in. He put them in. So, hold on, let me make sure to get the correct thing up here. As one nation, we grieve for the true American patriots who have made the ultimate sacrifice for our nation, even as we continue the righteous mission for which they gave their lives. Not sure if foreign intervention, entanglements, endless regime change is a noble mission, but continuing onward, he says, we pray for the full recovery of the wounded and send our immense love and eternal gratitude to the families of the fallen. And sadly, there will be more than before it ends. There'll be more before it ends. That's the way it is, likely to be more. So he's anticipating more people to lose their lives because of a conflict that he started that he didn't need to start. I swear to God. But we will do everything possible where that won't be the case. You know, doing everything possible where that will not be the case is not starting a war. He then says, America will avenge their deaths and deliver the most punishing blow to the terrorists who have waged war against basically civilization. They've waged war against civilization. Like somehow Iran is not a part of the greater human civilization. Like they're not human. And then he goes on to say, they have waged war against civilization itself. I will argue that Trump has waged war against sanity itself because this man is wild. And that's to say it lightly. And all of this being said, right now we're in a gray area because the United States itself has not issued a declaration of war against Iran. I covered this earlier, but I'm going to quickly summarize it. So the United States, our Constitution lays out that the power to declare war is actually vested within Congress. So the House of Representatives and the Senate, the legislative branch, has the power to declare war. Now, where it gets the gray area is also the executive have war powers. They don't have the power to declare war, but the president is the chief military officer that leads the troops, the Navy, all military operations. And within the power, they have the ability to then protect national defense, promote general welfare, etc. So there's a little bit of a gray area where, because Trump did preemptive strikes against Iran, you could say, oh, well, is that then meaning that we're in a war? Not technically. Under the US Constitution, the president cannot officially declare war. That power is explicitly vested within Congress. While the president is commander-in-chief, US presidents have frequently initiated military actions without formal declarations, using their authority to defend against immediate threats, often justified under the War Powers Resolution of 1973. And citing that War Powers Resolution, you can see in here that what it did was it limited the US president's abilities to initiate or escalate military actions abroad, but it also gives them the ability to then lead still. As part of our system of governmental checks and balances, the law aims to check the executive branch's power when committing US military forces to an armed conflict without the consent of the US Congress. It stipulates the president must notify Congress within 48 hours of military action and prohibits armed forces from remaining for more than 60 days. The Constitution divides war powers between Congress and the president, and only Congress can declare war and appropriate, meaning allocate, set aside money for military funding. Yet the president is the commander-in-chief of the armed forces. So basically we're in this gray area because Congress hasn't declared war on Iran. but our president has issued preemptive and unprovoked strikes against Iran because they apparently have nuclear weapons. Which again, as I talked about earlier, our director of national intelligence back in March of last year said there's no evidence that Iran is building nuclear weapons. Trump ignores that whole thing and says, I think they have nuclear weapons, I'm just gonna bomb them anyway. So this is information from Democracy Now!, the War and Peace Report. US and Israel, so we along with Israel, have launched unprovoked airstrikes attacks on Iran, risking broader regional war. And, this is the downside of always having to shuffle through my graphics every time. The US and Israel have launched an unprovoked attack on Iran, bombing sites across the country, including the compound of Iran's supreme leader, I don't know how to say that, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. I don't know if I'm saying that right. Iranian state media reports one Israeli strike hit an elementary girls' school in Minab, unaliving at least 85 people, including scores of children. Iran responded by launching attacks across the Middle East, targeting Israel and US military installations in the United Arab Emirates, Qatar, Kuwait, Bahrain, and Jordan. Israel Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says there are, quote, growing signs that Iran's supreme leader was unalived in the attack. Please make sure to send some likes if you are enjoying the stream. I aim to inform, educate, and also provide some of my commentary about everything happening abroad. If you are not sure where to start, our country has basically bombed Iran. Unprovoked, it's completely preemptive strikes. And you're like, what does that even mean? It's basically us bombing them because apparently they're supposed to have nuclear weapons. But here's the catch. If you all remember, back, last year, March of 2025, our own Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, that's her name. Tulsi Gabbard testified before Congress and said, hey, I've looked at the evidence and it doesn't look like Iran is building any nuclear weapons. There's no evidence to show that Iran is developing or building any nuclear weapons. And basically, you had a whole bunch of people say that, oh no, I think they're building nuclear weapons. Yet, despite this testimony, most of the committee members that she testified to have issued statements over the past days and weeks that have entirely ignored this assessment, instead painting a picture of Iran speeding towards a nuclear bomb and Israel's self-proclaimed preemptive war against Iran as an unavoidable and understandable act of self-defense. This includes people like Tom Cotton, a Republican from Arkansas. And this also includes people like Secretary Pete Hegseth, confirmed that Iran's terrorist regime is actively working towards a nuclear weapon. So right now, you have United States officials being like, yeah, it's a nuclear weapon. But our own Director of National Intelligence is like, are you all not listening? No. So basically they're just goading on wanting to do war. And this is also another thing. When our Director of National Intelligence told Trump, there's no nuclear weapons being built, Trump immediately then goes, I don't care what she said. And then he was thinking about trying to nuke them anyway. Not nuke them, but like bomb them. So I don't even understand where this is all even supposed to go, because at one point Trump was weighing in saying that Iran should after calling for an unconditional surrender. Trump weighs joining Iran strikes, calling for an unconditional surrender. And then he also then says Trump's looking for better than a ceasefire. So Iran and Israel are fighting. And he's like, I'm looking for better than a ceasefire. Then turns around and says, I'm not looking for a ceasefire, not at all. I don't care what she said, whether they're building nuclear weapons. I just want to bomb Iran. Huh? Dude, what? I don't get it. And what's also really interesting here, is he was bragging at one point, saying that nobody knows what I'm gonna do. Nobody knows if I'm gonna bomb Iran. Nobody knows if I'm gonna negotiate a ceasefire. Nobody knows what I'm gonna do. This is all back last year. I did a whole video breakdown talking about this. If you want to go and view that video, let me show you what it looks like, the video cover. Where did it go? Where did it go? Oh my gosh. Hold on just a second. There it is. I did a whole video breaking all this down. Trump says that he may or may not join Israel's strikes against Iran. Nobody knows what I'm gonna do, but we are looking for better than a ceasefire. Yeah. He says peace talks are fake news, but we're also looking for better than a ceasefire. I truly, yeah. Trump bragged about the fact that no one could predict his actions. He said, well, I have ideas as to what to do. I have ideas as to what to do. Hold on, let me do these in order. I like to make the final decision. 1 second before it's due. 1 second. Because things change, and, especially with war, things change, and war is very bad. If you actually go and look at that video, that's literally what he says. Now, to make this even more interesting, Trump actually did end up issuing some strikes against Iran. So we joined with Israel back in 2025 doing strikes on Iran, meaning bombings. And apparently, according to Trump in his own Truth Social post, he then said that we obliterated Iran's nuclear sites. We obliterated those sites. Pew pew, done. All up in smoke, all in the ashes. We obliterated their nuclear facilities. We obliterated them. There's nothing there. It is all just shrapnel, nothing there anymore. So why is it that now we have to bomb them again? Why is it? And this person was like obliterated. It appears Iran's nuclear program grew back almost as fast as his ear, referring to when the bullet grazed Trump's ear and how he had a bandage over it. You know what I mean. So Bernie Sanders also points this out and is correct to do so. Trump said we had to attack Iran because we can't allow it, quote, to have a nuclear weapon, end quote. Really? This is the same president who, back in June, said, quote, Iran's nuclear facilities have been obliterated. Vietnam, Iraq, Iran, another lie, another war. And when just looking at all of this, I want to just put this up here. To all of the MAGA who are in here that are about to scroll away, bye, that you're like, oh, Trump is anti-war, the Democrats are going to send us into war. Look, a lot of progressives, myself included, don't like the warmongering that also can happen in the Democratic Party. It's exhausting. I think Americans, regardless of our political affiliation, I really hope that all of us can say, you know what? Something smells here. It really doesn't really seem like we need to have boots on the ground for this whole thing in Iran right now. So we don't need to do that. It's so funny when MAGA, y'all got played. Y'all got played so massively. And progressives like me, democratic socialists, are trying to tell you, dude, Trump has never been anti-war. He's never been anti-war. He always said it as part of a performative thing. Or if he was anti-war, he's definitely not now. Which I think it's more the fact that he was never anti-war to begin with. And also, a lot of what Trump said about Obama in the past is about to start resurfacing. And you're like, wait, of course, wait, hold on, huh? So let me also just point this out here. So these people are hypocrites. They played with the emotions of the American public to win votes, and now they're doing the exact same thing they used to criticize others for. Looking at Donald Trump's past posts, don't let Obama play the Iran card in order to start a war and to get elected. Be careful, Republicans, be careful. Barack Obama will attack Iran in order to get re-elected. Remember that I predicted a long time ago that President Obama will attack Iran because of his inability to negotiate, properly not skilled. Trump voters in 2024. No more wars. Trump voters in 2026. We want to invade Iran for Israel. I really hope that regardless of everyone's political affiliation, we can all be in the anti-war coalition. Because the biggest thing that is really, that really is mysterious about this whole thing is our country, the United States, preemptively, unprovokingly decides to bomb another country because they apparently have nuclear weapons. But yet, according to the people who apparently are justifying the bombings now, said that we obliterated their nuclear facilities less than half a year ago. Or actually a little bit more than half a year ago. Sorry, I'm not doing my math right. So how is it that they already have these nuclear weapons, supposedly, already again? This makes me think that the United States is like stirring the pot. I used this analogy earlier, but it's a lot like in school. It's a lot like in school, you're like, I am so anti-violence. I am so anti-violence. In order to protect the fact that we don't start any problems, or we don't have any violence, I need to smack someone. Smack. That's what it's like. Us bombing Iran over hypothetical no evidence of nuclear weapons in order to stop a threat against the United States. This is the kind of crap that apparently that Americans fell for with weapons of mass destruction. Sorry, do you think the American people are dumb? If you believe and follow along with this, then sorry, you're proving them right. Because to me, this is the United States this is the military-industrial complex trying to pull the same move again. It's like Charlie Brown losing the football. Okay, you pulled the football out from underneath us one time. Okay, then we'll learn. Like, let's not let that happen again. So, there's bound to be some people in MAGA that instead of using this as an opportunity for reflection and growth, are going to look at this and justify it as, oh, war is good now. Or this, I'm attacking Iran because they have nuclear weapons. Why don't you attack Russia? Are you crazy? They have nuclear weapons. Yeah. And you'll see a lot more that Trump's posts have been, that we're talking about Obama and Iran are going to be popping up a lot more now. And this also leads me to my last thing here that I want to talk about, and then I really have to go. Trump's best foreign policy, not starting any wars, by J.D. Vance, our current vice president, January 31st of 2023. And you're like, oh, well, obviously that's different now. Obviously that's different, all that stuff. You want to know what J.D. Vance, has said? This is what he said. I empathize with the Americans who are exhausted after 25 years of foreign entanglements in the Middle East. I understand their concern. But the difference is that back then, we had dumb presidents. Really? Back then we had dumb presidents? Back then. Those were the dumb presidents. Versus the current one that then, a few days back, said I ended the war with Iran, and then our country decides to then bomb Iran. JD Vance is really going to pull a muscle with the amount of stretching that he's going to have to do. Like, dude, your nose is going to be completely sore and so brown from going all the way up there. Or all the way up and sucking up to Trump however you need to. Like, I pity JD Vance. I really do. Like, this man has basically groveled at Trump's feet in order to then just become what? The vice president? Hoping to then maybe become president after him? But he's attached his whole political career to the Trump wagon, and more that wagon is going off a cliff. So, do I feel sympathy for him? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. It also reminds me of this, when Donald Trump is like, it reminds me of Lord Farquaad, some of you may die, but that is the sacrifice that I am willing to make. Because Americans have died in Operation Epic Fury already. Anyway, I need to get going. It's 9:45. There are a lot of you in here, and that's awesome. That's awesome. I don't usually have this many people on my live streams, so I do want to do a quick little poll before I end the live stream. I'm going to do a poll. Who is new here? And it's going to have new and OG squad. I just want to take a poll and see who's new here and who is not. So make sure to answer here. Okay, I started the poll. Who is new here? And I wanted to do a poll, actually. Leaving and never attending again. Oh, did I make you critically think? Oh dear. I love how you said never attending again. So you were admitted to attending it. I love that. Look, I encourage you, go check out my content. I do provide my opinion in it, sure. But I also just try to give you the raw information. I really do. Jesus love you. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. I know. Who's new here? We have a lot of people who say they're new. That's awesome. And thank you for the super chat. I'm assuming FREAK FRUMP. Cool. All right. Awesome. I appreciate every single one of you. To the people who are trying to be obnoxious and rude and mean, like, dude, minding your own business is free. Minding your own business is free. You know, ask a poll asking people if they support tight left or support neither. I don't really need to know. I mean, I could, but I don't really think I need to know. Like, trolls are gonna troll 100%. Yeah, your president declared war on Iran simply because he is involved in the Einstein affair. You know, that's not a bad assessment, and I think that you're kind of spot on with that. You know, so is being straight. That's free too. Yes, it is. Good job for noticing. How does my sexuality have anything to do with that comment? Yeah, it's yeah. So I hope that my breakdown of everything was at least helpful in some capacity, because right now the United States launching unprovoked preemptive strikes against Iran over nuclear weapons that apparently we obliterated back in July of 2025 last year, just over half a year ago. So does that mean that Trump lied about the fact that they blew them up? Or does that mean that they were never blown up and then they have weapons? Or is this just a complete liar? I'm an aggressive leftist with deep pockets. What? Oh my God. PB, thank you. What? Hold on. Oh, I'm an aggressive leftist with deep pockets? Trump, yes, Trump is a well-documented liar. 100%. Anytime, bro. Thank you. Oh my gosh, PB, is there a way for you to personally message me? I kind of want to know who you are. I want to get to know you, friend. I want to get to know you. Is there... I kind of want to get to know you. How do you do that? Have I finally broken the SHADDOWBAN that I've been under? Because finally, I've been producing lots of content endlessly, and it kept being like, you look cute. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Shout out to all my amazing moderators. I really, a lot of my moderators are amazing, and y'all are incredible. I really appreciate every single one of you. Don't tell me you're a gay Zionist. Oh, absolutely not. Absolutely not. No. This dude is gayer than the Romans. Here is the punchline. Huh? Wait, hold... I'm really nervous that somehow this money is like not real. Like, are you all looking at this with me and being like, huh? Insulted him, then sent him $400? Wait, hold on. Is this guy for real? Like, what's going on? What's going on? I don't get it. Wait, Of course it's not real, or he's insane. You can't refund super chats, LMAO. Well, I didn't know. Waiting for the punchline. Hopefully you mean like joke punchline instead something else. The punchline is when he does a stop payment through his bank, but you're stuck with the fees and taxes. Wait, hold on, that's a thing? So, hold on. Is this an actual thing where someone will then send a whole bunch of money and then they stop it, but then I end up paying the fees and taxes? That's a real thing? No, it's already paid. See, that's what... Don't listen to them, LMAO. Tell me your plan to do with Iran. I've never heard of that. Yeah, I'm confused. Okay, I really am confused. There are kids with no monetized YouTube channels. Go check your account. Shouldn't doubt. I'm not gonna scroll away from the live stream. So okay. You have the evidence to prove they sent it. Divide the money against illegal minorities. Actually, a lot of people who are here undocumented don't like the fact that they're undocumented, dude. They don't like it. So maybe I would actually donate it to people to then fund them to maybe get really good immigration attorneys to then help them become citizens. That's actually a good idea. Maybe I'll do that. Seriously, I actually might. Because there are a lot of people that work hard and they're just here trying to live their lives. A lot of people who are undocumented were escaping bad economic conditions in their former country, or they were trying to look for a better life, and they're not here trying to then displace anyone. This whole country was built by immigrants. This whole country, whether you were a colonizer, your ancestry comes from colonizers, or you were brought here as an immigrant, or you came here as an immigrant, or maybe your ancestry was brought here involuntarily through slavery, all of us, unless you have Native American heritage, are not from this land. For instance, my dad's side of the family were actually American colonizers. They were the ones that fought for religious liberty and freedom from England. And my mom's side of the family were immigrants through Ellis Island. Now, pointing that out, just because part of my American ancestry were American colonizers, does that make me inherently a bad person? No. No, of course not. That would be stupid. I also recognize the fact that part of my ancestry probably violated the treaties of Native Americans, 100%. They probably were nice to them in some capacities, but also the Native Americans didn't understand or have the same definition of land ownership. So it was easy for those colonizers to then take it as an opportunity to then, oh, well, this land is mine now. And they're like, aren't we supposed to share this? But they couldn't communicate it in that way. But everyone here in America, unless you have Native American heritage, we all have an immigration story. Whether you were a colonizer, came through Ellis Island. So it's baffling to me that there are a whole bunch of people that are so angry that immigrants exist. Also, the thing is, there are a lot of people here that, yes, they're undocumented. Does that immediately scare me? Oh my God, an illegal immigrant. Oh no, the biggest threat to the United States. Do you actually get to know these people, listen, talk with them, hear their story, understand their plight? No, of course not. You just fearmonger about their existence like it's the biggest taboo, crazy thing. I know when I've talked with a lot of people who are undocumented, they don't relish in the fact they're undocumented. It scares them. It scares them. Have you actually listened or learned or even exchanged with someone who's undocumented? You're like, oh, but they're undocumented. Yes, we've established that. Have you listened to their story? Have you listened to what they might have had to go through trying to get to the United States? Have you listened to the plight of their existence in regards to the violence in their home country or the economic conditions, not having opportunities for jobs? I know people from Mexico, because the cartels are really big in Mexico, they flee to the United States to live the American dream. If we really wanted to fix immigration, you know what we would do? We would pass a massive spending bill to then fund a system that allows more swift processing of people's immigration cases. Oh, we did have something like that, but then Republicans got rid of it so that Trump could get elected. So, anyway, but someone says, how about you, STFU? You're on my stream, buddy. Someone's like, how about you shut up? It's like, you scrolled into MySpace. You scrolled into MySpace, honey. Who made you think that somehow you scrolling into MySpace gives you the authority to tell me to not speak on my channel? Like, oh, someone was dropped a few more times as a little one. Like, this is when I, as a Southern gay guy, go, bless your heart. Bless your heart. Also, there's a lot of people in here. It seems like you'll have a crush on me. Did you have a father growing up? Yeah, I saw him yesterday. How does that have anything to do with it? You people are weird. Look, I am a Southern gay man. I exist down here where people say these things to me in person, in some capacities. Not usually because I live more in an urban city, but I live in an urban area. I live in an urban city. Hi, I'm Scott. But dude, you think these things get under my skin? Also, just imagine, and I'm gonna have to go here soon. I know I said that, but then there's a whole bunch of people in here. I actually do have a hard cutoff in 30 minutes though. I don't understand these people who are like, I'm gonna type this insult and hide behind a screen and get to this to get to this little gay guy over the internet trying to inform people. Like, dude, what are you doing? What are you doing? You think, oh, I'm gonna really insult this little zesty gay kid over the internet. I'm really gonna show him. Like, I pity you. I really do. Like, I don't hate you. I don't. Minding your own business is free. Minding your own business is free. So why in the world are you coming in here with so much attitude, attempting to insult me? Like, I'm not your enemy. I'm not your enemy. I don't think you're gay. This is a troll channel. That's so funny. Just imagine if I was being gay just for internet attention. Like, no one, I sure hope that no one does that. That'd be so weird. Imagine be like, I pretend to be, oh, why was I doing a Trump voice there? Like, I pretend to be gay just for internet attention. Like, yeah, I pretend to be straight just for internet attention. Sorry, that might have been offensive for straight people because my straight impression is really kind of cringy and weird. Anyway, okay, I'm just gonna do another, recap of everything happening with Iran because there's a lot of people in here. And, while y'all are here, I should definitely just keep on going. I do have a hard cutoff in 30 minutes and actually on Mondays, so fun fact, personally, fun fact for me is on Mondays, I actually have the day off. So Mondays, I can usually go live for a little bit longer, but then I often stack it with like doctor's appointments or running errands or doing things to kind of tidy up or get ahead on content or do stuff like that. So I do have a hard cutoff in about 30 minutes. Usually I keep my lives at about an hour long, but so far I've been live for 2 hours and that's fun. Well, almost, we're getting close to 2 hours. I meant to go live right at 8 a.m., but that did not happen. I like to claim that sometimes I run on gay standard time, GST, which means like being 15 minutes late. It's just a joke I make. Anyway, all right, let's officially start with a recap of what's happening in Iran, how this relates to the United States, what are the raw factual information, and what is my opinionated take. You can disagree with my opinions, you can disagree with my analysis, all that stuff. You, of course, have the freedom to do so. I try to make it delineated between what is the raw information and the data, the science, the statistics, and the facts just at hand, and then my interpretation of it. If you and I are looking at the same set of facts and come to different interpretations or opinions or analysis of what needs to happen, okay, I'm going to tell you you're wrong, but you have the absolute ability to do that. What's not up for debate are just the objective, raw, factual information, okay? Trying to then debate whether something exists or does not exist is silly. Like, trying to debate that somehow Operation Epic Fury is not a thing is like, no, it's a thing, and we'll learn about it. So here we go. Let me take a sip of water and then we'll start. All right, here we go. Oh, that was a bad jump up. Oh, hold on. Tongue pops are fun, okay? It's just a fun little thing. Anyway, so if you're like, what is happening? What's going on with Iran? Let me give you the skinny. Let me give you the update. So on Saturday, our country, the United States, was goaded by Israel, and along with Israel, launched preemptive, unprovoked airstrikes against Iran. When you hear strikes, that then just means bombings. So this did include American boots on the ground, and unfortunately 3 people have lost their lives and several have been injured and seriously wounded. So just in, 3 U.S. service members unalived in Operation Epic Fury, 5 seriously wounded. And this is all coming from a president who claimed that he was anti-war. 3 U.S. service members were unalived in Operation Epic Fury, which is the United States and Israel's joint attacking of Iran, and another 5 were seriously wounded, according to U.S. Central Command reports. As of 9:30 Eastern Standard Time of March 1st, 3 U.S. service members have been unalived. And all of this stemming back to the United States going with Iran and doing some unprovoked preemptive airstrikes. As of early March 2026, the United States is enraged in major combat operations against Iran, designated as Operation Epic Fury. Reports indicate joint efforts with Israel have targeted Iranian leadership and nuclear sites, resulting in U.S. casualties. And what's interesting here is they're launching these strikes against Iran to blow up their nuclear weapons. But the existence of those nuclear weapons themselves are also not proven, kind of up in the air. Last year, I'm going to do a flashback to last year. Our Director of National Intelligence, her name is Tulsi Gabbard, who was appointed by Donald Trump, testifies before Congress and said, hey, to my knowledge, and from what I'm able to gather as the top intelligence official, Iran is not building a nuclear weapon. So she goes and says, hey, the U.S. Intelligence Agency's annual threat assessment basically said that, look, it doesn't look like we're doing any sort of words. I can't English. This is what it is. The IC, the intelligence community, collective conclusions covering a broad swath of national security issues in geographic areas, including the threat posed by Iran, found and assesses that Iran is not building a nuclear weapon. So she testifies to Congress saying, doesn't look like Iran is building a nuclear weapon last year in 2025. Well, then speed it up towards June, and all of a sudden, Trump is saying, well, maybe I'm going to then do some strikes in Iran. Maybe I'm going to bomb Iran. Maybe I want to look for a ceasefire between Israel and Iran. Maybe I want to look for better than a ceasefire. Maybe I want Iran to look for a conditional surrender. There are lots of craziness, like what's going on up in the air. And so Trump decides to completely ignore his own Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, saying, I don't care what she said. I think they have nuclear weapons, so I'm going to join Israel and just bomb them. We're going to bomb these nuclear facilities. So the timeline of events is that, number one, Trump appoints Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard when he gets elected in 2024. She then testifies before Congress and say, hey, there's no knowledge about nuclear weapons being built. There's no evidence of this. As the top intelligence official, I'll tell you, I am not seeing anything like this. Trump decides to ignore her, along with political officials on both sides of the aisle, talking about how Iran has nuclear weapons. We really need to defend the homeland. Oh, they have nuclear weapons. We can't let Iran have a nuclear weapon. Even though our own intelligence was saying, hey, doesn't look like they have one. So then Donald Trump joins along with Israel in doing preemptive airstrikes against Iran, and then ends up saying that we obliterated their nuclear facilities. This was back last year in June. Damages are very severe. They were destroyed. Of course they are. Just like I said, we'll do it again if necessary. I want the fake news CNN should immediately fire their phony reporter and apologize to me and the great pilots who obliterated Iran's nuclear sites. This is what Trump posted on his own Truth Social. So Trump is saying that we obliterated their nuclear sites back in June 18th, 19th, 20th of 2025. Now, you're like, wait a minute, how does this have any connection to today? Well, what Trump is saying is that we somehow need to go to war with Iran because they have nuclear weapons. Except, according to Trump, those nuclear weapon sites were obliterated back in June of 2025. So you're saying that in just over half a year ago, their whole nuclear operations apparatus was all completely obliterated. And now it's all back to like ready to deployment days. And this gets to what Bernie said. Bernie Sanders was like, Trump said we had to attack Iran because we can't allow it to, quote, have a nuclear weapon. Really? This is the same president who in June said, Iran's nuclear facilities have been obliterated. Vietnam, Iraq, Iran, another lie, another war. Let me see if I can do it in my Bernie Sanders impression. Okay. When you do a Bernie Sanders impression, you have to have your hands up here. Oh God, don't look at my pits. I sweat during these live streams, okay? Don't look at those. Don't look at those. But this is how you do a Bernie Sanders impression. Trump said that we have to attack Iran because we can't allow it to have a nuclear weapon. Really? Really? This is the same president who back in June said Iran's nuclear facilities have been obliterated. Vietnam, Iraq, Iran, another lie, another war. Is my Bernie Sanders impression bad? I feel like it's kind of a 3 out of 10. Okay, it's not the best. It's not the best. But also, I think you can kind of tell it's Bernie because he talks with his hands up there. You know? Anyway, what's also interesting with all of this is before Trump initiated strikes on Iran, goaded by Israel, he was talking about how Israel and Iran should have a ceasefire. And at one point he said that he was looking for better than a ceasefire. Okay, question. What is better than a ceasefire? Genuine question. What's better than a ceasefire? Like a kiss on the cheek? Like a hug? What's better than a ceasefire? Having a drink? Having a cheers? Like, what's better than a ceasefire and war? And also, at one point, he then turns around and says that he's not looking for a ceasefire between Israel and Iran. It's like, okay, dude, as I said earlier in the live stream, Trump is a lot like the new trend or walking embodiment of what all these Gen Alpha kids are doing of 6-7, 6-7, 6-7, 6-7. Because Trump is like, war, not war, war, not war, war, not war. Because he also in his State of the Union address said that he apparently ended the war with Iran. He said that I ended the war with Iran. As Trump also launched preemptive, unprovoked airstrikes, bombings towards Iran. I'm looking for better than a ceasefire. I'm not looking for a ceasefire. Bomb them. Don't bomb them. We're looking for a negotiation. They didn't want to negotiate with me. Bomb them. Oh, but I'm a pro-peace president. I ended 7 wars. Like, what a dope. Like, what? Trump is the living embodiment of 6-7, 6-7, 6-7, 6-7. He cannot decide. And yet we are the butt of the joke as America because we are caught up in the backdraft of every single one of his decisions. Like the Americans who have been unalived because of Operation Epic Fury. It reminds me of Lord Farquaad. When in the first Shrek movie, he said, some of you may die, but that is the sacrifice that I am willing to make. It's sad and pathetic. It's sad and pathetic. And I really want MAGA to take this as an opportunity to then turn around and be like, if MAGA then somehow justifies this war, like, y'all, you can't claim that you're anti-war. You cannot claim that you're anti-war. I guarantee that there's going to be a lot of MAGA people that are like, I'm anti-war, but this war is justified. It's like, when your own director of national intelligence is saying that there's no evidence of a nuclear weapon being built and you decide to try and bomb it anyway, yeah. So, and going to what some of these trolling comments were saying earlier, and I do have to get going. They were trying to say that somehow they're like, oh, you're against bombing Iran? Like, oh, you don't want to protect America? You do realize that you're feeding into exactly the narrative that they want. Because here's the thing. If our own intelligence is saying that there's no proof of existence of nuclear weapons, the same with like weapons of mass destruction, then like, why are we somehow issuing preemptive, unprovoked strikes against another country? Can you possibly take a step back and be like, maybe America, maybe we are the ones that are in the wrong by launching these airstrikes? And people are like, well, Scott, why don't you just trust the government? Why don't you just trust the government? Look, in some capacities, trust is given as a default, but in many capacities, you also have to earn trust. So you have to give people the benefit of the doubt, but also when they do things, when the government does things that make you warrant suspicion, then yeah, it's okay to be suspicious. So putting all that out there, me looking at all of this, I'm like, I find it convenient for warmongers to then use this to profit. And the last thing I'll say is poor JD Vance having to humiliate himself just to be vice president, because he's trying to do damage control, but it's obviously so, oh God. So this is what he said back in June of 2025. He said, I empathize with Americans who are exhausted after 25 years of foreign entanglements in the Middle East. I understand their concern, but the difference is, back then, we had dumb presidents. So, you're like, back then we had the dumb presidents. So, we have big brain president when it says, I ended war with Iran, then all of a sudden launches Operation Epic Fury and bombs Iran. I don't get it. I don't get it. Also, Trump had some very sharp words about the past actions of former President Barack Obama relating to when Obama did unauthorized strikes against Iran. Also, people like in his cabinet, Stephen Miller. If young men don't want to be drafted to fight for Kamala and Cheney's Third World War, then they better get out and vote for Trump. Yet, what are we seeing? It's Trump doing the war. It's Trump basically waging war without an official declaration from Congress. MAGA is a sham. It always has been. Don't be duped. If you're one of these MAGA people and you're like, you know what, Scott, you're really pointing out something. Yes, this is your opportunity to get out of the cult now. Have some self-respect. Have some integrity and some courage to escape the grasp of constantly making your whole identity around being a Trump supporter. The man is clearly out of his mind. You don't need to constantly justify and try to rationalize every single weird action. This is also what he said. In order to get elected, Barack Obama will start a war with Iran. Now that Obama's poll numbers are in a tailspin, watch him launch a strike in Iran or Libya. He is desperate. Think about what this says about Trump too. Trump is saying that, okay, if you're president and you're desperate, you start a war. Who's currently president then? And starting a war, so Trump must be desperate to then improve his poll numbers. Maybe to distract from something like the Epstein files. Or maybe to distract from Kristi Noem, the operations of the Department of Homeland Security, and ICE basically terrorizing American civilians and people in this country. So it really goes to show the actual real thought process behind Trump. You know, be prepared. There's a small chance that our horrendous leadership could unknowingly lead us into World War III. Was this like a prophecy? This didn't age well, homie. Remember that I predicted a long time ago that President Obama will attack Iran because of his inability to negotiate, properly not skilled. Says you. And like, it's funny because we've basically, without written declaration, done airstrikes against Iran now twice. Twice. So no official declaration of war, but still. So that's why I put a big asterisk around we have declared war with Iran. Not technically. But it's funny because Trump is saying that regarding Obama, our president will start a war with Iran in a desperate attempt to divert attention, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, that not age well. Same guy who then said he ended the war. He's ended all these wars, but he's apparently starting this one. God. Anyway, I need to get going. I appreciate every single one of you. Y'all are amazing. Y'all are awesome. Shout out to my amazing moderators for being in here. I really, really appreciate every single one of you. This was a really good live stream today. This is a really good live stream. I turned back on the chat, so now I see them. I appreciate every single one of you. Did I miss any super chats or chats from moderators or other people in here? I want to give a big shout out to Ilisa. I want to give a big shout out to Kate, Akicha. Y'all are incredible. Cherie, Cantigan. I love you, Cantigan. You're awesome. I could not do any of this without my moderators. You know, my moderators keep the chat civil. I'm not here to try and overly silence you, but if you're being obnoxious, you will get silenced. Oh, of course, you bet, Cantigan. So I appreciate all of you. If this was your first time viewing me live, then please make sure to smash that subscribe button. I seriously appreciate all of you. Y'all are incredible. I love when this one person puts a Christianity symbol as well as a gun together in like the same message. How do you think Jesus would feel about guns? Like, have you thought about that? You thought about that? You're one of these right-wing people that's like, yeah, I love guns and I love God. How do you think Jesus would respond to guns? He'd probably be like, whoa, dude. You know, it's just like, jeez. Also, if you're interested, please join the Discord. Please join the Discord. What do you care? You don't even believe in God. Don't speak for me. You don't know me. You don't know me at all. It actually might be quite a little bit different than what you're thinking. So anyway, shout out to my amazing moderators in here. Y'all are incredible. I love all of you so much. And I appreciate, I could not do any of this without you all. Today was a really, really good live. And I'm very, very grateful for all of you. So anyway, I need to get going. I love all of you. Shout out to Cantigan, Akicha, Ilisa, Cherie, Kate, Joanna Tech. Y'all are incredible. So just remember that you are beautiful. I know, I'm sorry. You are loved, you are valid, you are strong, and you are fierce. Don't let anyone or anything or any algorithm ever dim your shine. I love you all so much. Bye!